All right, it is time to check cam timing or degreeing the cam on this 440. So today we're going to be going over the different specifications on the intake and exhaust cam lobes on cylinder 1 and checking those relative to top dead center. So I put together a video of how to put the degree wheel on the snout of the crank. It's pretty simple, but it takes a few minutes, so I got a short video on how to do that. Make sure it's right. That is critical to checking all these other cam specifications. So make sure you get that one right. All right. I've got a couple different methods I'm going to go over here. One of them, I'm going to use just a regular lifter. I'm going to put just a little bit of light oil on it. I'll do one on this one too as well. And as you see, I have a little piece of metal here that I'm going to put here on the hydraulic plunger just to make sure that my dial indicator is reading on a nice flat surface. And then this one here we're going to use on the exhaust lobe, because the exhaust lobe is a little bit harder to get at. I mean, it's almost impossible to get my dial indicator in there on the exhaust lobe, okay? So this is for the intake. I guess you guys know the order, but if not, well, the Mopar engine, here's an intake. It goes exhaust, intake, intake, exhaust, exhaust, intake, intake, exhaust. So the intake ports are Siamese together. So when you go to the engine and you look at this, your first one is the exhaust. That's one's a little harder to get at. And then the second one is the intake. And I guess incidentally, if you look at the cam, the first and the third lobes are doing the valves on cylinder 1. The second and the fourth lobes are doing cylinder number 2. But obviously we're in cylinder 1. It'll become evident in a little bit here. You know, when we start checking the different specs on the lobe, whether we're on the intake or the exhaust, because they're not ground the same. Okay, the only tedious part is getting these dial indicators set up. The rest of it's pretty plug and chug and just, you know, thinking about it. I do have a video on like fundamentals of cam timing, you know, of engine timing. So watch that if you don't already know this stuff pretty well. If you're already pretty sharp on that, then you can probably skip that video, but it's probably going to be beneficial to a lot of people, because unless you do this all the time, it's not really intuitive. You got to sit there and think about it. At least I do. So the trick here is you want to get your dial indicator, you know, set up right on the center line of the how that lifter is going to stroke. You don't want the indicator to be crooked, or your measurements are going to be a little bit off. All right, I'm working on a cast surface. The magnet, I think, is holding okay. It will hold even better if I could get up here on the deck, which I probably will for the exhaust valve. All right, let's see. I think we're good there. It looks really close to me. If it's on an angle, you're going to get kind of weird measurements. So I think that's pretty close. Let's go with that. Zero it out. I'll bring the camera around, get a better angle at this for you. All right, about here. Okay, so you can see the dial indicator. I rotated around to 0. You can see the degree wheel. We'll move the camera a little bit as needed so that we can kind of view it together. All right. Well, the first thing we're going to check, let's do what's easiest, I guess, first. Let's do the lobe lift. So that's pretty straightforward. Let's just rotate this around till we read maximum lobe lift. All right. Oh, we're not on the base circle of the cam yet. Okay, that's the base circle of the cam. So the first thing you want to do is make sure you're on the base circle of the cam, and your needle shouldn't be moving. So let me rotate this around and get this on 0. Okay, about there. Adjusting my magnet just a little bit here. Making sure that this thing is going to be stroking straight. It's pretty close. Okay, so find your 0. Okay, and then rotate the engine a bit more. Make sure you are on the base circle of the cam. Okay, needle's not moving, good. We're rolling around the base circle. You have to go around 2 times on the crank for every 1 revolution of the cam, so it's going to take a little while for that thing to come around. All right, and here it comes. Okay, so let's just take this thing up to maximum lift. There's 100 thousandths, or 0.1. There's 200 thousandths, or 0.2 inches. There's 300 thousandths, 310, 20, 30, 40, and 45 right there. Okay, so let's take a look at the gauge. 345 thousandths. And check the cam card. 345 thousandths for the intake. Well, the exhaust is the same when we get to that. Okay, so that's a simple check you can do real quick. As we go through and check this, it'll become obvious that you've got the right camshaft, hopefully. And now we're going to get into duration checks, make sure that we've got the timing gears on correct. All right, so let me bring it back around to the base circle. These next measurements are all going to be at 50 thousandths. So you see the needle coming back down. Okay, should come to 0. There it is, back to 0. Now we're on the base circle. Nothing happening until it comes back around. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to get to 50 thousandths of lift, and then we're going to start taking our measurements. Okay, here it goes. Needle's moving. 10, 20, 30, 40. See if I can sneak up on it. 50. Okay. So there's the gauge. 50 thousandths. And let's take a look at the degree wheel now. Okay, see if you can see that. We're sitting at 14 degrees. Okay, 14 before top dead center. Intake valve. So let's take a look at the cam card. And it should be opening 14 degrees before top center. Excellent. Okay, so now we're going to be looking for when it closes. And again, that's 50 thousandths before it's all the way closed. So let's see if we can sneak up on that. Okay, so we're going to be going up the lobe. So we know that the lift is 345 and we're at 50. So we're going to go about 3 turns. Okay, so there's 1, 2, and 1 more will be 345 or 350 thousandths, right about there. Yep, it's stopped. And there's some dwell, just like the piston in the earlier video we did. There's some dwell where that, lifter is rolling on the top of that cam lobe. Okay, now we're going to come back down. Okay, so we're going to come down, let's say 45, and then that's 145, and then 245, and now we got to stop when we get to 50 thousandths. Okay, so we're going to get to 50 right there and stop. 50 thousandths, and then we're going to check where we're at on the degree wheel. Okay, you see we've gone from before top dead center, 180 degrees, bottom dead center, and now we are 38 degrees past bottom dead center. Okay, so the cam card, where are we at here? Closes 38 after bottom center. Okay, so bottom dead center or bottom center, we are 38 degrees after that. Perfect. Okay. You could do a quick calculation, I guess, if you want, as to the duration, since we have those numbers. So you remember from the last video, so we started at 14 degrees, before top center. Okay, and then we went another 180 to bottom center, or bottom dead center. Okay, and then another 38 degrees. Okay, so if you add those up, 14, the 38, and the 180, to carry the 1, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, carry the 1, 232 degrees. Okay, so the intake valve has 232 degrees of duration if you start measuring at 50 thousandths and end at 50 thousandths. Okay, so that's a good check. And the center line of that, again, we went through that in that other video. You could go about it a couple different ways. I mean, just like the piston, you're trying to find, you know, a point where you can measure, like, you know, 50 thousandths on either side and split the difference. So the middle of this 232, divide 232 by 2, 1, 1, 12 left over, 6, 116 degrees. So from here, you got to come around 116 degrees, okay, to find your center line. And if you take the 14 off of that, right, 116 minus the 14 is 102. So from top center to that same line is 102 degrees. Just depends where you're, you know, measuring from. So 102 degrees is the installed center line of the cam on the intake lobe. So we are good to go. You could, you know, go through it again if you want to check it. One way to do that would be you could just pick some arbitrary point on either side of the peak of the cam lobe and, you know, just go through the math on that and make sure it's truly the center. So, you know, we can go through that. Let's go ahead and rotate this thing around. Okay, so that's that last 50 thousandths. So now we're on the base circle. So let's come back around until it wants to lift back up. And we'll see if we can do that center line calculation. So how about on 0.345 lift, let's go to 0.325. So we'll go 20 thousandths either side of the peak of that lobe. And what that would look like, it's going to be basically cam lobe, right? And instead of down here at, you know, 50 thousandths, right, we're going to go all the way up to, you know, let's say 20 thousandths, which is the 0.345 minus 0.020. So we're going to want to go to 0.325. So we'll go to that dimension on either side and figure out where the center line is. All right, let's see how that turns out. I might have to do a little bit of math here, but that's okay. All right, so coming back around, looking for some lift. There we go. There's 100 thousandths. There's 200 thousandths. 300 thousandths. And we'll go to 325. Okay. I went just a smidge past, but really close. Okay, so there's 325. Let's see where we're at on the degree wheel. All right. And looks like about 74, thereabouts. Okay, so let's put a mark on that because we might have to do a little bit of math on this. Let's see. Let me grab one of my pieces of tape here. Okay, right there. And now we will go to the top of the lobe. Okay. Okay. And there it got to 345. And then we're going to start to go back down, back to 325. And then we're going to split the difference. Okay. So now we're off the peak. And there we are at 0.325. You see there, 25 thousandths. Okay. Now let's see where we're at. It's hard to get this thing lined up. We're at about 50 degrees. Okay, so let me put a mark on that. And we will go through the math real quick. One of these. 50. Okay, so you see here there's a 90. So we basically have to just split the difference, but this particular degree wheel is, you know, kind of an inexpensive one. So we just have to add this up and split it, okay? Or you could take some reference point like top dead center to here, 74. You could take top dead center to here, okay, which is 90, 100, 110, 120, 130, and then you could add them and divide by 2. So there's a couple different ways to do it, but let's see. Let me grab my pen and paper, and we'll figure this out. So we had, from this 50, let me count backwards, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 6 degrees. So there's 56 degrees. And the way that degree wheel looks, okay, we had a 90, an 80, and, well, we had a 70, but we were at 74, okay? And on the other side of that 90, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 increments. So we've got, it's going 80, 70, 60, and we're at 50. Okay, so we had 10, 20, 30, 40, 56 degrees, if you counted all the way back. Did that make any sense? So we got to split that by 2. Okay, so 4 and 16, 28 degrees. So if we count back 28 degrees, that will be our center line, okay? That's one way to do it. Or you could, like I say, just start at top dead center, add up what those equivalent dimensions are, and go from there. So let's get back on the degree wheel and take a look at that. Okay, and we're counting back from 50, 10, 20, what did I say, 28? Okay, so then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right about there. So right where we're at 80 or 78, excuse me. So 78, let me put my sticker on there for you. Okay, 78, right there. Now, from top dead center, okay, 90, 100, 102. Okay, so again, you got 90 degrees, and then jump into the 80 would be another 10. It's 100, and then 2, 102. That's the center line of the lobe. So that was at 20 thousandths either side, and you could do it at 50 thousandths either side. But indeed, that's what the cam card said, is that the center line should be at 102. Let's double check. Yes, 102. Okay, we installed the timing gears correctly. That's awesome. I think I did a calculation before, and I said it was going to be a little over 7 degrees off if you missed by a tooth. So you're going to know if it's off. This is a good check. All right, hey, let's get on to the exhaust lobe. So let me move the camera around. And you can see what we're doing there. Okay, it's pretty good. This one's going to take a little bit of monkeying, so bear with me. But let's go ahead and get that lifter out. Set aside our little coin. We've already lubed up this one, our used lifter / tool that we made. Okay, and we're going to just put that in there in the exhaust lobe. All right, and then let's find a way to mount this. I'm going to say right up here on the deck. Okay, probably maybe in this regime, I don't know. Let's see if I can move this over. This is the part that takes all the time. I hate to, you know, I do these videos without editing so that you can see, you know, what it takes to put an engine together, you know, time-wise and all. You know what each step takes. Some people edit this stuff down to the point where you're wondering, you know, geez, does that take him an hour? And then he puts this down to just a few minutes. Or mine are pretty straightforward because I don't edit them. I just kind of leave them raw for what it's worth. And I guess there's a little benefit to doing that, and that you get to see how long it really takes to do this. See, I'm already struggling as to how I want to do it, but let me maybe try a different way. I don't know. I guess I should have tried this off camera. Okay. Well, bear with me. I warned you that this video would be too long with the other ones, so I mean, I'm close here, but not quite where I want to be. I don't have the right angle, and this base is a little too big. So let me see, I can extend this a little bit. Maybe get that to tighten down. Yeah, I think that's going to work. I'm hitting here. Get a little longer. Okay. We almost got it. Almost. So I think the sweet spot is where this dial just barely clears the base. And then maybe the rest we can do over here. Let's see. That's pretty good. Kind of liking that. I think we've got enough stroke on it. And the problem is I don't have a great magnetic grip here, do I? Let's check it. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we should be okay. Okay, let's try to ride with that. See what we get. Okay, so there's the setup on the exhaust. Sorry, it took me a little bit. Okay. Sorry, I got a different angle there on the gauge as well. Okay. I'll give it one more drop of oil. I hit it a little bit earlier, but first time we've been on that cam lobe, I like a little bit of lube. All right. So let's go ahead and go right to duration. We'll pay attention as we go around and verify the lift as well. So let's see if the needle's moving. It's not. We're on the base circle. So let's go ahead and zero it out. That didn't last long. My setup is not good. My magnetic base is moving here. What I could do, little trick, is I can bring my engine around so gravity is not fighting me as much. Gravity on this slick, well, oiled surface so it doesn't rust. This thing's moving on me. So actually this makes it kind of easier to look straight down at that. I kind of like that. So see, sometimes a happy accident. So now we have more of a level surface here. I can look straight down at that and see that it's, you know, moving pretty much in line with that lifter. Okay, take two. Oh, now I got to move the camera again too. All right, let's try that. Okay, now the question is, can I see that when I'm working over here? Okay, yeah, we're in the base circle. So now we're going to zero it out. Okay. Maybe I'll just move this out of the way to like over here again. I don't think that's too bad. And then we'll come back around and look at the degree rule together. Okay, exhaust lobe. Let's see where we're at here. Coming around. We got a ways to go. Okay, here comes that lobe. Okay, and we're going to start to see some movement now. There we go, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 thousandths. Okay. And then let's take this down and take a look at the degree wheel and see where we're at. All right. So, yeah, never mind all those marks, but from bottom dead center, right, we're 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 54 degrees. Okay, just about 54 and a half, thereabouts. And oh, the camera's supposed to be over here. It's like 10:30 at night, guys. I just snuck out here to do the video. That's how life is. But 54.5 degrees before bottom center. So excellent. Our exhaust lobe's where we want. Let's continue to go around and get to 50 thousandths on the other side of that lobe. Okay, so we're going to go 1, 2. Okay, and it's coming back down. Okay, so let's see how that goes. 1, 2, and we want to come down to, we want 50 thousandths, right? Right about there. Okay, good. And let's check where we're at on the degree wheel. Okay, now we've come around and we are, you know, it's rotating this way. So we are past top center by about 10.5 degrees. Okay. And let's check the cam card. 10.5 degrees after top center. Okay. The exhaust lobe is also right where we want it. Okay, now we could check the center line of that, and we could compare it to the center line of the intake cam to make sure that the cam is ground correctly and that they have the right center line. So yeah, let's go ahead and go through that. So the center line of that exhaust cam. I'll change the camera to here. All right, so we started, we would say 54, 54 and a half before 54.5 degrees before bottom center, okay? And then it was open to 10.5 degrees after top center. So we've got another 180 and the 10.5. So 10.5, the 54.5, and the 180. Okay, is this showing up on the camera? Okay, so 0, carry a 1, 4, 5, 8, and 5 is 13, 14. And carry the 1, 245. Okay, let's check the cam card. What's it say? 245 degrees duration exhaust valve. Okay, good. So, where's the center line of that? Okay, well, 245 divided by 2. All right, so 1, 2 goes in there, 2, and 0.5. So 122 and a half. Okay, relative to, you know, one of these sides here. So 122.5 minus the 54.5. Okay, that's 0. And this is 8. And 5 from 11 is 6. 68 degrees from here. Okay, so we come up, let me see if I'm doing this right. 68 degrees. Okay, that's the center line of the exhaust cam. All right, and then the question is from the center line of the intake cam, which was up here, and that's 102 degrees down, so I'll draw it over here, right? How about this? Call that 90 and call this the 102. Okay, so we need to know the distance here and divide it by 2. That would be the lobe separation. the difference between, half the difference between the two center lines. So, okay, bear with me here. So this is 90. The difference between 68 and 90, if you're counting up, is what, 22 degrees? Okay, let's do it over here. 22 plus 90, okay, plus the 102. Okay, so this is 211, 112, plus 1, is that a plus? 102 is 214 degrees. And divide that by 2, you get 107, 107 degrees. So the halfway point there is like somewhere up in here, 107. It's the halfway point between the exhaust center line and the intake center line. And again, if you want to double check, you can always go ahead and do like we did on the intake lobe. 107 is the lobe separation. Okay, perfect. All right, hey, the cam card checks out. We are A-okay. We are good to go. And I think that's a wrap for this video. All right, thanks, guys.